Hallo, willkommen zurück. Oh mein Gott, der ganze Bildschirm wackelt. Ja, im letzten Part haben wir das Rätsel im Krankenzimmer gelöst, haben einen USB-Stick bekommen und ein Tablet und eine Fernbedienung anscheinend. Und Jasmine und ich sind zurückgekehrt. Aber nun ist Jasmine tot. Ja, ich habe geschlafen. Sie, war unten und wurde anscheinend in den Kopf geschossen von einem Typen, der weggefahren ist. Oder einer Frau. Und die Fernbedienung war auch nicht mehr dabei. Das heißt, irgendwas geht die Vorsicht und irgendwas ist ganz seltsam hier. Und nun haben wir ein Erdbeben. All of a sudden, as I contemplated those words, an earthquake took place, shaking the room. I quickly lost my footing. Ugh! What's happening? What the hell? I managed to catch myself as I fell, only to roll over under the continued movement. I slammed into the wall and gave a small scream of pain. Perhaps as a result of the shock and the hit on my head, that was what triggered my memory to come back. It all came back at once, leaving me breathless for several moments. All of this began right here in the metro. My vision was filled with four colors. Blue, orange, green, and yellow were all I could see. It was also black, but black might really just be the absence of color, or all colors at once. Some colors were missing, so it wasn't a rainbow. Es könnte eine Metro sein. Ja, doch, kann eine Metro gewesen sein. Vom Aussehen her. Just staring blankly, my eyes followed the colored line slowly. First the green. Then I followed the blue. The yellow. Finally, the orange one. That was the one I was on. All I could see were those four colors. It was because my eyes were fixated upon the poster on the train. I didn't know why I was looking at it. Oh, warte. I've been spacing out. Irgendjemand, die ich vielleicht kenne? Jasmine könnte das sein. Das könnte Jasmine sein, vielleicht. Wahrscheinlich aber eher nicht. I've been spacing out. Now I was back to reality, though. What was that weird dream just now? It was so strange. I was in the metro and... No. I couldn't remember already. It wasn't important then. I tried to remember why I'd been looking at the map. Right, I was taking the train with Mako. I was looking at the map to the metro because I hadn't taken this far ever before. I didn't want to miss our stop. I was going to fetch her at the airport and... No, wait. I was coming back from there. As evidenced by the fact Jasmine was already here. She flew all the way from Vancouver, where she lived as a graphic designer. She and I had gone through school together up to college. We took the same course at the Artistic Institute of Vancouver. And then... we went our own separate ways. While I came back home to study further by taking courses at the University of Montreal, she remained there. That meant she and I hadn't seen each other for years. As for Marco, he'd never met her, obviously. Well, not face to face, anyway. I mentioned her a few times, which always made him crack some horrible stupid joke. This was their first time talking together. At least it was their first time sharing space together, because nobody out of the three of us was saying anything. Naturally, this was the metro, so most people were quiet. If we said anything, we'd be drowned out by the noise coming from the metro moving. Some people didn't care though, such as a group of 5 teens close by. If I strained my ear, I could almost make out what they were saying. Shooting a glance at them, I saw one of them had long pink hair and 2 pigtails. Da sind sie! Also 1, 2, 3, 4. I looked back at Jasmine, who had the same hair color. Of course, it was very natural. It was just dye. You could tell Jasmine's real hair color was brown, since her eyebrows were that color, and she didn't dye those. Kinda liked her better with brown hair, personally. Colors again. My thoughts were going back on the subject of colors. Maybe I just turned into a zombie from waiting in the metro this long. The announcer spoke the name of the station we were at, but it was no stop. I dismissed it, pulling myself to the side a little to avoid a woman leaving the train. Right afterwards, 2 men entered and took her place. Both were businessmen who probably had a lot of success, judging by their very stern allure. Meanwhile, I was just a pizza delivery man. I was also a student, but that wasn't quite true. While that had been the case before 3 p.m. today, now I was entirely free from university. Hey, Glückwunsch! Assuming I passed my exams, anyway. Finally, I'd have a bachelor's degree, and I'd start getting real jobs in what I wanted to do instead of the service of ingrates. The idea did make me quite giddy, and it was the reason why Jasmine was here too. Tonight, we were going to party, because not only did I finish my exams, but so did Marco. That meant we potentially had a bachelor's degree and a master's degree in the same apartment. Granted, mine was in fine arts, and his degree was in some science thing I never understood. I picked up some party games and we could play on Nimbus, the multi-platform game store. Hopefully that would be a hit. The real hit was not having any more stress from dealing with exams, tests, and homework. I was now my own man. That thought was reassuring me because I wasn't the strongest guy at heart. Could you believe it? 24 years old and I still felt like an insecure teenager. I pressed my hand against my cheek, dragging it down a little while exhaling. Some girl further down the train looked at me strangely. She had no idea of what I truly felt. Once again, the train stopped. It did that every few minutes, depending on how far apart the stations were. Walking from one to the other would take ages, so this was great, but this place was always so damn cramped. The woman leaving earlier had left some vacant space, but since she was replaced by 2 men, not much came of it. Normally, I was sitting in it, was a lot more relaxing, but now I was on my 2 feet. I was also holding onto the pole in the middle to keep my balance. I hated that. This thing was covered in germs. I needed to wash my hands soon. At least things got better not long ago when everyone finally realized it was a good idea to disinfect. Some people were even rocking the face mask style. The face mask skill. God! Some people were even rocking the face masks still. 1, 2. Oh, die sind dazu gekommen, so. At least things got better not long ago, when everyone finally realized. So, it'd been over a year since that stuff ended, though. So many topics were flying through my head. Was I really no longer stressed out? I didn't know, to be honest. But luck had it that this stop had an elderly woman walking out of the train. It had been occupied before, now it was vacant. Kann ich sie, wer hier fehlt? Wahrscheinlich sie, oder? Sie? Nee. Nicht sie. As usual, some kind of psychological warfare was instantly triggered. Everyone would be going for the seat. Of course, those who needed it had priority. Thankfully, I was the closest to the seat, so I took a quick glance to see if anybody who needed was going to take it. The coast was seemingly clear. The businessmen were looking at their folders and exchanged hushed words. The group of teens from earlier were on the other side, so them coming here was just a pipe dream. They wouldn't go for it. It's too far. A bunch of people didn't even notice, so they were out of the match as well. I noticed all of that very quickly. It was stupid how my attention processed all of those details so well in moments like these, but not during my exams. Ultimately, sitting down was meaningless, I knew that. Yet I took the seat anyway, before anybody else could. Deep inside, I was triumphant. It was a hollow victory, but a victory nonetheless. You had to take them where you could get them. I could tell I won something or another when Marco took a glance at me, as he apparently had been pinning for the seat too. Well, next time, buddy. Simon 1, Marco 0. Still, we were away from home, which meant the bell I won didn't win me the war yet. When we got to each station very quickly, we had a number of them. Between now and then. I looked at the clock to ascertain the time, since I'd left as soon as my exams had been over. It was 5 p.m. I still couldn't believe it took around 2 hours to head to the airport, pick up Jasmine, and come back with public transport. It might have been faster had I possessed my own car, but I wasn't that lucky. I could barely afford my studies. Still, since we were a decent way off, I figured it wouldn't be bad if I took a small bit of rest. Nothing fancy, just closing my eyes. Nothing fancy, really. It was a normal situation as they came, and yet, this was still how all of this business started. On April 2020. Oh, hey! Das ist in... Wow, 2 Monate und 5 Tagen. Meine Aufnahme gerade. I was sitting in the metro, minding my own business. Nothing fancy. Yet, when I closed my eyes, all movement ceased. The train stopped moving completely. I didn't feel the presence of anyone around me anymore. It was like time stood still. Or maybe I was asleep. It was the likeliest explanation. I must have been really tired. But as I was drifting off, something grabbed my back. Something grabbed me back. It was a voice. A girl was talking. I'd never heard that voice before, though. Was it a train announcer? No, that was an older lady. This one with a useful voice. Who was it? I could barely hear it. Repeat herself louder this time. Listen, if you stay asleep like that, we're gonna be in trouble. Sleep? I wasn't asleep. I could hear what she was saying. Couldn't you see that? My body felt like it lead away. I couldn't stand up just yet. So, wake up already. Are you okay? The train stopped. She was so insistent too. Who was this girl? I never heard this voice before. As a second passed and my body became operational again, I felt stiff all over, as if I'd been deep in sleep. Perhaps she was right. Maybe I dozed off really hard there. Hey! Wake up already! My eyes finally opened. It seemed as though I had fallen asleep indeed. It was embarrassing, but no, I couldn't deny it. I took a look around and noticed things were just as she said. The train had stopped. It never came to a standstill like this unless it offloaded a few of its passengers. Or if it was no longer in service for the day. Huh? The girl next to me was Jasmine. For some reason, I couldn't put a face to her voice before, but now it became all too apparent. I was still a little too groggy for my nap, so I chose to listen to her before doing any sort of exploration. Yeah, I don't know what happened, and I'm pretty weirded out. I sat down for a moment, and right after that, I was alone here with you. It seemed like that fact was making her embarrassed too, because her cheeks took on a slightly rosy tint. I had to assume she wasn't lying about it then. I had no idea where Marco is. This is a bother. Did he leave us behind? No, he's not the type. He probably waited outside to jump scare us. I swear this is not normal. I sat down and right then, everyone else vanished in the span of a single moment, I tell you. Okay, I get it. So you fell asleep too, and... No, my eyes were open. Sure. I teased her. For a moment though, I thought I got through to her, but she shook her head with an exasperated sigh. My companion threw out her arms to expose the rest of the train. And this place is really strange. Feel free to have a quick look around before we go. Don't worry, we have plenty of time. I woke up several minutes ago and still hasn't moved. Woke up, is that right? So you did sleep. Oh, shut up. Either way, I decided to conduct my own search around this place. This stranger panel in the back of the train was especially interesting. When that being done, I just go for the exit. These were the seats furnished the train's compartments. They were pretty small and snugly squished together to maximize use of space. They also weren't comfortable. Probably done on purpose so people didn't sit down if they could avoid it, or maybe so that they wouldn't fight over the seats. Clearly, that didn't work out in the metro's favor. The station was completely deserted outside. There was absolutely no one I could see. The same could be said for the other side too. Both sides were empty. Normally trains pass on both sides as well, but if what Jasmine said was true, the fact this one didn't move and the fact that no other passed by was very strange. Still, my destination was right outside of the train. Perhaps I'd better understand what I was seeing out there. The walls were covered in metal plates too. This wasn't what the station looked like normally. The wall was weird. It was separating the compartment from the frontal one. There was a faint outline of a door, as if the conductor cabin could be accessed, but there was no handle. Had it always been there? Maybe. I was perhaps only noticing it now because I was looking around. Maybe it was just my imagination, but I felt like it was caged in. Looking around on the opposite side, I saw they blocked off this compartment from the rest of the train. No. A wall with a large red X had been installed between each slice of the two compartments. It was as if the only accessible one would be these ones. Something strange was going on. Why would they put up this wall? This was not, in fact, a stripper pole. was much more dangerous. First of all, this pole covered in germs. People held onto it to keep themselves balanced when the train was moving, since most had to stand up. Sometimes the train was so packed you were squeezed like sardines against one another, and it was pretty damn hard to breathe well. I oftentimes didn't need to hold onto it because I mastered the art of spreading my weight all over my legs. All I had to do was open them a bit wider than usual and stand perpendicular to our directional movement. By shifting my weight accordingly, I could fight off the pull of gravity, and then I didn't have to hold on to these things. Immortal against those damn germs. So you fell asleep, right?
I know I said I woke up, but I really didn't. I sat down and everyone instantly vanished. It was instantaneous, like I kept telling you.
That's pretty whack.
I know, right?
I couldn't believe what you were saying. She definitely fell asleep, but she's too proud to admit it. I looked outside of the train through one of the windows. There was no telling which station this was. Why is it not moving anyway? Are we at the end of the line? I stopped way earlier than that. It would be such a bummer if that was the case.
I don't know why it's stuck here, but I don't think we missed our stop. For some reason, I think this is it. On one hand, the fact it's not moving is weirding me out. On the other hand, it means we didn't miss our stop, so maybe it's a blessing in disguise?
Maybe something happened they evacuated to area and we just missed it. If that's the case, we should hurry outside then.
Whatever it is, it's not something we need to worry about too much. Nothing's happened to us for several minutes.
And consider this. If it was an earthquake, for example, maybe we're just between tremors. We should hurry out of here.
Oh, there are no earthquakes here. Where do you think we live?
In Montreal.
That's where you live, at least. Anyway, there are no earthquakes here. Take your time, nothing else is happening.
Oh, glaub mir, Mädchen, wir haben einen Earthquake erlebt gerade. Okay, where did you go?
Finally. I've been waiting for you even if you were asleep because I didn't really want to go without you. What if the door's closed behind me, right?
Yeah, good thinking. Now that we're done, let's go. Oh, das kennen wir doch. We both stepped outside the train. I looked at the strange plates on the wall for a few moments until something snapped me back. The doors to the train closed behind me, which made me turn around quickly. It's going away now? My question fell on deaf ears as Jasmine and I watched it roll away. Bye! Soon it was gone, just like that. Should we have stayed inside?
I don't think so, no. That maybe sounds strange, but I have a feeling. Was it waiting for us to leave it before doing the same?
Trains don't wait for people, Jasmine. It's the people who wait for trains.
At any rate, I also noticed something strange earlier.
She pointed at me. Before I could act indignant, I took a look behind myself and noticed a welcoming committee of two was coming towards us. Was she pointing at them? No, she was definitely pointing at me. Directly by neck, in fact. But that could wait. For now, I stared at the two who were coming up to us. They were strange enough that I would have considered her words were meant for the two of them. The first of the duo was an old man. He looked so old his hair was entirely white. No wait, there was a slight greyish tint to it. Maybe he was in his 60s, maybe 70s. His outfit was all sorts of strange. Hunched over, he wore several layers, a white shirt, a grey vest with golden stripes, and two metallic shoulder pads. He also had a bag at his side. Das ist noch seltsamer. The one accompanying him was much younger. I couldn't see most of her face, so I couldn't tell just how young. But from how she looked, she might have been in her 20s too, just like Jasmine, Marco, and I. However, there was a clear difference between us. Namely, she was adorned with very strange things. There was a headset on her, along with that facial plate mask. Was she playing some sort of game? Stranger even was the rest of her outfit. It made me think of Japanese Shrine Maiden. Echt? Oh, ein bisschen. It wasn't exactly clear what the dress was supposed to be, but it was sharp contrast to the technology on her head.
No, young man, it's here to stay, you know.
I averted my eyes for a moment while Jasmine took the lead.
Hello. Sorry to bother you, but we're kind of lost and...
Of course I understand. We're in the same predicament as you, I'm afraid. We were starting to believe we would be the only ones here, but you arrived in a train much like us. We had been discussing about investigating when you came out and now the train is gone.
Right. So anyway, my name is...
Are you sure you want to give your name to a frail old man such as myself? Information can be troublesome if it falls into the wrong hands. Well, I'm glad you're willing to trust me that much. It doesn't matter if we call ourselves by something else, no?
I didn't understand what he was suggesting. Jasmine did not seem to share my confusion, instead considering his words carefully.
Perhaps she figured this meeting was too strange, as she backpedaled on the decision. You're right. I feel like this is a little unorthodox, so fine then. You can call me Jay, how about that?
J! Or do you mean the letter J?
The letter is fine. It's like a nickname. Not much of one, but one nonetheless.
I couldn't fathom why she was so hesitant about this. Had she participated in something like this before? Suddenly, a cold feeling spread through my spine. Was this dangerous in some fashion? No, Simon, you had to stop thinking this way. There had been some kind of explanation. And then I'll be, S.
Very well, that seems sensible enough. The lady at my side will be E in that case. And for me, I will be A, as a knight of justice at your service.
He pushed a hand onto his chest, acting solemn about it. If he really was a knight, that might explain his weird appearance, though there was something off about him. It was as if a part of what he said didn't seem sincere. I have several questions.
And I may have several answers. Please don't be afraid.
Okay, aber die beantworten wir im nächsten Part erst, denn wir haben schon 20 Minuten erreicht. Neue Charaktere, ich freue mich. Jetzt haben wir J, S, I und A. Oh, wow. Bald haben wir das ganze Alphabet. Schön. Dann haben wir noch ein M wie Marco. Und der letzte weiß ich, wie der heißt. R oder so? Ich weiß nicht, R oder so, was in der Art. Keine Ahnung. Finden's raus. Ich danke fürs Zugucken. Und es wird spannender, je weiter wir kommen. Hohoho. Ah, ich werde es vermissen, Jasmine Stimme zu machen. Ich werde es echt vermissen.
Ah, ich mag ihre Stimme gerne.
Aber bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss.